Connect Gang, what's good? It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. Now it's time for your boy to step back in here. The Sports Connect, dropping technology all on this track. I major in that hashtag RTO Real Talk Only. Thank you for allowing me to be your plug to the sports world. We're going to get into this hashtag RTO Real Talk Only as we talk about what's going on in the sports world. I'm going to give you more of this content so we can have real conversations about what's happening out here in sports. We're not going with the emotion. We're only going with that hashtag RTO Real Talk Only. Walk with me on this journey. There are two words that I want to focus on today as I talk about this really current happening that's really hot. It's definitely a hot button issue in sports. The two words I want to really hone in on and focus on: commitment and sacrifice. Sacrifice and commitment. Take it in whatever order you want to take it in. Let's take that sacrifice first. When someone makes a sacrifice and they do that for the collective, the only way that that sacrifice is relevant is the collective has to insulate the person that is making the sacrifice. They have to protect them. They have to build them up. They have to build a platform for them for once they make that sacrifice, that fall isn't as hard and it isn't as steep. And they can continue to rise and build on the momentum that their sacrifice continues to create. So when Deion Sanders makes a sacrifice and goes and coaches at Jackson State, which is a great institution, when he goes and makes that sacrifice and the way that he made that sacrifice, Connect Gang, here was his commitment. He was basically paying himself to coach. He was coaching basically without a salary. That's a huge commitment when we always talk about getting that bag. And you should get to that bag in this world because, as we know, there is no loyalty out here, Connect Gang. Hashtag RTO Real Talk Only. But when a man makes that type of sacrifice, he is making a commitment. What the collective has to do is insulate him, especially in this NIL era, where there are lots of things that are legal now that used to be illegal when you start talking about it from an NCAA legislative standpoint. So when he made that sacrifice to coach, and he's doing it at a below market rate, we have to come together and make sure that he has everything that he needs in order to stay at the place where he made the sacrifice. We got to help him, Connect Gang. That's hashtag RTO, Real Talk Only. I told you I'm approaching this without emotion. I'm approaching this with facts. That's what we do here when we major in that hashtag RTO, Real Talk Only. So we got to help him. So as we are continuing to be critical about whatever move it is, whether he stays or whether he goes, I'm not taking a side there. I'm saying that once the sacrifice is made, in order for that sacrifice to continue to work, we have to insulate. We have to support, whether that be resources, whether that be money, whether that be NIL deals, whether that be facilities. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to tell you why that's important as we start talking about commitment and sacrifice. Another thing, Connect Gang, here we go. Hashtag RTO, Real Talk Only. I am dropping technology on this track. Not only do you measure how much an institution is committed to a program or a coach, it's not just based on what they pay that actual individual as the head coach. Here's something else where you can measure that commitment as well. You have to see how much they're paying their assistants. And in this case, you had assistants, very experienced assistants. Some were former NFL head coaches in the case of Mike Zimmer, making sacrifices to come to Jackson State to give these players NFL caliber coaching, NFL caliber training, NFL caliber hashtag RTO Real Talk Only. So when those assistants are making sacrifices, that's another way that we measure how much of a commitment an institution has to a program. How much do you pay your assistants as well? That's another thing that we can look at from a standpoint of making sure that there is a really strong commitment from that institution and that university based on what they pay their assistants, what they pay their head coach, what the facilities look like. Here we come to commitment again. Jackson State is one of the 18 land grant institutions, meaning public institutions that were established by the Southern legislature in the 19th century. These are public land grant institutions, and these institutions initially opened to teach agriculture because that was the way of the day back then. So these public land grant institutions were open in the South. There are 18 of them that are HBCUs that were open in the South in the 19th century. Now, this is according to a Forbes article that was published in February of this year. Though between 1987 and 2020, those 18 public land grant HBCU institutions were underfunded by $12.8 billion. That's B as boy and the boy, $1 billion. So with that being said, $12.8 billion, if we want to talk about commitment, if we're going to say, be critical of a Deion Sanders for making a move from Jackson State to Colorado, you know who else we got to bring that heat for, Connect Gang? And again, I'm not taking the side. I'm just giving you hashtag RTO, real talk only, and looking at this without emotion and looking at the facts. If we're going to bring that heat, we're going to bring all that smoke to Deion. We need to bring that smoke to these HBC, actually to those state governments that fund these HBCUs. How is it from 1987 to 2020, these 18 land grant public institutions that are HBCUs were underfunded by $12.9 billion? Guess where that money can go? Upgrading the athletic facilities, upgrading the dorms for students that aren't athletes, making sure that you take this top-notch coaching talent and athletic administration talent and making sure that they stay at HBCUs. That's where that money could go. So we're going to say something about Deion and his commitment and his sacrifice. We need to say something about these state governments and their commitment to these HBCUs that are public land grant state institutions. You're making a big statement if they're underfunded by from 1987 to 2020 by $12.8 billion. That's a big, big statement. Again, Connect Gang, these aren't numbers that I made up. This came from a Forbes article that was published earlier this year in February. So again, your guy, the Sports Connect, Antonio Williams, giving you that hashtag RTO Real Talk Only because I'm your plug to this sports thing. Continue walking with me on this journey. I'll see you again soon, Connect Gang. Y'all stay safe out there.